Let me ask you something. What would you do if the person you loved, the person you built a multi-million-dollar company with, woke up one morning and erased you like you never existed? Because that's exactly what my ex did. And the crazy part, he thought I was weak. He thought I was distracted. He thought I had nothing left. He was wrong. I'm standing in my kitchen, coffee going cold in my hand, staring at my laptop like it just betrayed me. I tried to log in, wrong password. Okay, weird. I reset it. Access denied. Slack. Locked out. Company email. Suspended. Bank dashboard. Error. Message. And that's when my stomach drops. Because this isn't just some account. This is the company I helped build from nothing. The company pulls in over $2.3 million a year. The company everyone associates with us, or at least they used to. I'd grab my phone and start dialing straight to voicemail. Again and again. That's when a client texts me something I'll never forget. Hey, just confirming, are you okay? We were told you stepped away because of mental health stuff. I feel the air leave my lungs. Mental health stuff. That's how I found out. Not from a meeting, not from a conversation, but from a client who suddenly thought I was unstable. My ex had cut me out. And he didn't just steal the business, he rewrote the story. Overnight, I went from to a liability, from visionary builder to burnt-out girlfriend who couldn't handle pressure. And he told everyone, clients, vendors, even our own employees. He said I was taking time away. He said I was not well. He said it was best for the company if he ran things solo. And here's the part that still makes my jaw clench. People believed him because he was charming, polished, the face of the brand, and I was always behind the scenes. But what he didn't know, what he never saw coming, was that from day one, I never fully trusted him. See, while he was busy playing CEO on LinkedIn, I was quietly building something else. A paper trail, a digital footprint, a legal minefield. Not because I planned revenge back then, but because something about him never felt safe. And that instinct, it just saved my life. I sat down, opened my notes app, and scrolled to a folder labeled, just in case. Inside, screenshots, contracts, emails, TIMES, TAMPS. Every late night I built the product, every line of code, every design file, every domain registration, receipts he forgot existed. And for the first time since that text message, I smile because he thought he'd locked me out. He didn't realize he just walked into my trap. But here's where it gets wild. 2 hours after I lost access, I got an email from his lawyer, not apologizing, not negotiating, threatening me, claiming I had no ownership, that I was replaceable, that he had full control, and attached to that email, a document he thought proved it. One problem, it proved the opposite. And when I showed it to my attorney, she leaned back, smiled, and said, "Oh, he messed up bad." That's the moment my panic disappeared. No tears, no shaking, no breakdown, just clarity. Because this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about strategy. And I was done playing nice. By the end of this story, you'll see how he exposed himself trying to control everything. How one lie collapsed his entire empire. How legal, quiet revenge hits harder than screaming ever could. And why the people who underestimate you always pay the highest price. But to understand how this all you need to know how it started, how an introverted builder and a smooth-talking sales guy became a so-called power couple. Because the signs were there, I just didn't know what they meant yet. That's where the love bombing begins. And where the first red flag almost cost me everything. Have you ever met someone who feels like the missing piece? Not loud, not obvious, but perfectly placed? That was him. And looking back now, that should have scared me. I didn't even want to be there. It was one of those startup networking mixers, overpriced drinks, forced smiles, people pretending they weren't desperate to be seen. I was standing near the wall, black hoodie, nursing a cheap whiskey, mentally calculating how fast I could leave without being rude. That's when he walked up like he already knew me. "Let me guess," he said, smiling effortlessly. "You're the smartest person in this room. And you hate everyone here." I laughed. That was mistake number one, because no one ever saw me like that. We started talking. Turns out, I was a product designer and coder. Years of freelancing. Quite obsessive, detail, oriented. Any sales, pitch decks, clients, confidence, you could bottle and sell. He leaned in and said it like a joke. So basically, you build the magic and I sell the hell out of it. That line changed my life. From that night on, we were inseparable. Texts turned into calls. Calls turned into late night brainstorming. Brainstorming turned into why aren't we doing this for real? He made everything sound inevitable. People like you don't fail. He told me they just need someone loud enough to protect them. That word hit something in me because I'd spent my whole career being overlooked, undervalued, paid less while others took credit. And here was this guy saying, I've got you. He didn't just hype the business, he hyped us. We're not like other couples. We think bigger. We move faster. We're dangerous together. He talked about future offices before we had clients, vacations we hadn't earned, yet interviews we hadn't given. He introduced me as, this is the genius behind everything. And I believed him. Because when someone mirrors your dreams perfectly, you stop checking for lies. 3 months. That's all it took. 3 months from first drink to shared calendars to shared bank logins to shared dreams of an empire. We didn't start a business. We announced one. Domain bought, LLC filed, pitch deck polished, and every time I hesitated, he reframed it as fear. Why are you thinking small? Why are you doubting yourself? Don't sabotage us before we even begin. So I shut up, and I worked. Here's something I didn't clock at the time. Whenever someone asked a technical question, he answered, not wrong, just vague. And when I jumped in to clarify, he'd laugh and say, see, this is why she's my tech girl. My tech girl, not co-founder, not a partner, but it sounded affectionate, so I let it slide. Online we looked unstoppable, LinkedIn posts, coffee shop meetings, laptop photos with captions like, building something special with my favorite person. People loved us, clients trusted us faster, investors took us seriously, and I told myself, this is just how sales works. He's the front, I'm the engine. Engines don't need credit, they just need to run. Then his language started changing. Subtle stuff. I brought in another client. My pipeline is insane. They love what I'm building, not us. And whenever I corrected him, he'd smile and say, relax, babe. It's just wording. It's just wording. That phrase would come back to haunt me. One night, after a long build session, I jokingly said, so when do I get my billionaire bio? He paused, just for half a second. Then I laughed. Hey, someone's gotta stay humble. Something in my chest tightened. I ignored it because love teaches you how to rationalize disrespect. Here's the part that matters. Despite everything, despite the hype, despite the future, I started quietly saving things. Not out of fear, out of habit. I saved early designs, initial concepts, emails where I explained features line by line. I didn't tell him. I told myself it was just good practice, but deep down, something in me was already preparing for war. And here's the part no one expects. 6 months into the relationship, a mutual friend pulled me aside and said, just be careful. I laughed it off until she added, he has a pattern. Big ideas, big charm, and women who disappear from the story. That night, he held me closer than usual, and I let him, because the scariest red flags are the ones wrapped in affection. A week later, he surprised me with a toast. To my partner, he said, the real brains behind everything. Everyone clapped, and just like that, my doubt vanished. Because when someone alternates praise and dismissal, your brain stays addicted to the praise. But that safety, it didn't last. Because once the money started coming in, once the business became real, so did the disrespect. And the first time he took credit publicly was the moment I should have walked away. Where the business grows, the mask slips, and the first real red flags scream for attention. And trust me, they get louder. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. And tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now. You don't really know someone until there's money on the table, not ideas, not dreams, real money. And the second it showed up, he changed. At first it was just us. Two laptops, one wobbly table, cold takeout on the floor. I built everything from scratch. The product, the systems, the workflows nobody ever sees. He handled calls, smiled on Zoom, closed deals with words I hated but secretly admired. And when the first client paid, we celebrated like we'd won the lottery, because for us, it felt like we had. One client turned into three. Three turned into eight. Small contracts at first, then bigger ones. We've rented a tiny office. One desk, two chairs, a whiteboard covered in my diagrams. But when people came by, he did the talking. And slowly, so did the credit. This is the system I designed. This is the framework I envisioned. My product solves this problem. I'd correct him casually. He'd laugh it off. Babe, you know what I mean? And every time he said that, I felt smaller. Here's when it became undeniable. We're at a small industry meet. Someone asks a deep technical question. Before I can answer, he jumps in. She handles the back-end stuff. He says, I guide the vision. Back-end stuff, like I was plugging cables into walls. People nod, they look at him, not me, and I tell myself, this is just optics. This is just sales. But my chest burns the whole ride home. That night, I finally said something I don't like. How you talk about my role. He sighs. Not angry, not defensive, disappointed, double quotes. Why are you making this a thing? You know, I appreciate you. You're being sensitive. Sensitive. That word again. And suddenly, I'm apologizing. For wanting credit for my own work. As revenue grew, so did his confidence. And his wording, my company, my clients, my risk. I'd joke about it, he'd correct me. Well, technically I'm the one facing them. Facing them. As if building the product wasn't the entire reason they paid us. Then we hired someone, a junior, smartica. On her first day, he introduces us. I'm the founder, he says. And she handles the product. No title, no mention of partnership, just she. I smile because correcting him in front of others feels like betrayal, so I stay quiet. And that silence, he notices it and keeps going. Here's the part that still messes with me. One afternoon I overheard him on a call. He didn't know I was there, and I heard him say, yeah, I'm lucky she's replaceable. Replaceable, he laughed, and something inside me went cold. That was the moment. Not anger, not tears, awareness, because love doesn't talk like that. Partnership doesn't sound like that. Ownership does. From that day on, I started watching instead of reacting, listening instead of confronting, and quietly, I started documenting everything. Dates, meetings, who said what, emails where I explained features, messages where he approved my work. Not because I planned anything, but because I needed proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that I existed. Online, he leaned into it. LinkedIn posts. Couldn't do this without my amazing support system. Support, not a partner. Not co-founder. Support. People commented praise. He soaked it in, and every like felt like a small theft. One night, I finally snapped. I feel invisible, I said. It's like you're erasing me. He laughed. Not cruel. Casual. You're being dramatic. He said, no one would even know the company without me. That sentence. It lived rent-free in my head for a while. I believed him. I worked harder, stayed quieter. I tried to be easier, because when someone convinces you your worth is optional, you start proving it instead of protecting it. The fun part, the more invisible I became publicly, the more indispensable I was privately. Nothing shipped without me. Nothing worked without me. And he knew it, which made him resent me. And then something happened that blew the illusion apart. One late night, one notification, one email that wasn't meant for me. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about credit anymore. It was about replacement, where I catch him cheating with a client and discover a plan that made stealing the company look small. And trust me, that's when I stopped being hurt and started being dangerous. There's a sound your chest makes when trust dies. It's not loud. It doesn't echo. It just collapses. And mine did at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost ignored. He said he'd be late. Client stuff, he said, kissing my forehead. Don't wait up. I didn't question it. By then, late nights were routine. Sales never sleeps. That was his favorite excuse. I stayed home, laptop open, fixing a bug he promised. A client would be gone by morning. 11:46 p.m. His phone buzzed. I wasn't snooping. It lit up on the table a preview, a name I recognize, one of our clients, someone I'd hired, and the message said, I can't stop thinking about last night. My hands went numb. I stared at the screen like it might apologize. It didn't. Another message came in. When are you going to tell her about us? Her, not your girlfriend, not your partner. Her. I had two options. Put the phone down and pretend, or pick it up and destroy the version of my life I still believed in it. I picked it up. The messages weren't subtle. They weren't flirty. They were established, weeks old, plans made, jokes shared, and then the message that changed everything. Once I restructure ownership, we'll be set. She doesn't need to be involved long term. Restructure ownership by vision blurred. I kept reading. I'll give you equity once she's out. She's replaceable. Replaceable. Again. This wasn't just cheating. This was a hostile takeover wrapped in an affair. He wasn't betraying my heart. He was dismantling my future and promising it to someone else. I expected to break down. I didn't. Something else happened. Everything went quiet, not numb, focused, because heartbreak is loud, but strategy is silent. I didn't confront him. I didn't throw anything. I documented screenshots, emails, calendar invite, deleted messages recovered. I saved everything in a folder and renamed it Timeline, not Revenge, Evidence. When he came home at 2:30 a.m., he was relaxed, too relaxed. He kissed me, asked if I was awake. I smiled. That smile almost killed me, because he had no idea I'd just seen the real him. I played my role perfectly, asked about his meetings, listened, nodded. Meanwhile, I watched his language. How often he said I instead of we, how often he checked his phone. How easy lying was for him. That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. Over the next few days, more pieces clicked. Draft documents in his email, conversations with advisors, messages about cleaning up the cap table. He was positioning himself as the sole founder, and I was the obstacle. Here's the part that should scare you. He didn't think I'd fight. He thought I'd crumble. And that confidence, that's what destroyed him. Because while he underestimated me, I started auditing everything. I went back to the beginning. Who registered the domain? Who wrote the first line of code? Who designed the product, the logo, the pitch deck? Me, every time. And I had proof. That night, I didn't cry. I slept. For the first time in weeks. Because clarity is comforting. And I finally knew exactly what I was dealing with. But I haven't moved yet. Because timing is everything. And then life handed him the perfect excuse to make his move, without me around to stop it. Mamaman, Gasik, where tragedy opens the door. And he walks through it smiling. And that's when my quiet preparation turns into a full-scale war plan. Have you noticed how betrayal waits for moments when you're already on your knees, not when you're strong, not when you're watching closely, but when your attention is somewhere else? That's when they strike. It was early. Too early. The kind of phone call that skips small talk. My sister's voice was shaking. Mom, doctors, tests, late day. The words didn't land all at once. They stacked heavy, unavoidable, and suddenly, the company didn't matter. Not at that moment. When I told him he was flawless, immediate concern, soft voice, no hesitation. Go, he said. Stay as long as you need. I'll handle everything here. Everything. He held my face and said, family comes first. We'll be fine. And if I hadn't already seen the messages, I would have believed him. I packed fast. Laptop, chargers, documents. I told myself I'd still check in, still be involved, but grief has gravity. It pulls your focus inward. And he knew that, because what I didn't know then was that my absence wasn't a problem for him. It was an opportunity. At first, nothing seemed wrong. daily check-ins, quick updates, just busy, clients are good, don't stress. But the tone changed. Shorter replies, less detail. When I asked questions, he'd say, "Let me handle it. You've got enough on your plate." And part of me felt relieved because exhaustion makes you trust the wrong people. Then small things, HAPPENEDSLACK, notifications stopped coming through. System update, he said. A shared doc disappeared. Reorganize folders, he said. A meeting I was supposed to join, rescheduled. Sorry. Every excuse sounded reasonable. That's what made them dangerous. Here's what he didn't know. Even while sitting in hospital waiting rooms, even while holding my mom's hand, I was watching, checking timestamps, tracking access logs, noting what changed and when. But because once you've been betrayed, your instincts never fully sleep. One night, I tried logging into a tool I'd built myself, and it asked me to request permission for my own work. I didn't panic. I screenshotted, and that's when I knew he wasn't holding the fort. He was locking the gates. There's a special kind of cruelty in being betrayed while you're grieving, because you don't have the energy to fight back. You just feel hollow, and he counted on that. The next time we talked, I asked directly, "Why don't I have access anymore?" He paused just a beat too long. "It's temporary," he said. "Legal suggested less liability while you're away." Legal. That word again. Always vague, always final. Here's the part he never expected. I didn't argue. I didn't push. I said, "Okay, I trust you." And the second I said it, he relaxed. That was his mistake. Because he thought I'd stepped back. I stepped sideways. I started backing up everything remotely accessible, pulling archived emails, saving old invoices and design files. I organized it all by date, by creator, by proof, not revenge, readiness, while I was away. He was rewriting history. Clients were told I'd burned out, that I needed time away, that I'd chosen to step back. Not sick mom, not a family emergency, but burnout, because burnout sounds permanent. A client reached out to me directly, concerned, confused. I said, "He told us you're no longer involved." No longer involved. I stared at the message for a long time, then replied calmly, "That's not accurate." And just like that, the storm began to turn. That night, sitting alone, I made a decision. I would finish this the same way. I built everything else. Quietly, precise, legally, no screaming, no public meltdown. Just consequences. Because the next thing he did, it was the boldest move of all. While I was still gone, he erased me completely. From the company, from the website, from the story. And that's when I stopped preparing and started executing. Where he pulls the trigger and locks me out for good, and where my just-in-case folder becomes his worst nightmare. I didn't get fired. I didn't get warned. I didn't even get a conversation. I just disappeared. It happened on a Wednesday. No drama, no argument, just silence. I opened my laptop, logged in, and every system said the same thing: access revoked. Email, project tools, cloud storage, bank view only gone. It was surgical, clean. Professional, like I'd never been there. My phone buzzed. A message from him. "Hey, don't panic. Just some security updates while you're away. Easier if I run things solo for now." Solo. That word finally landed. I stared at the screen, waiting for anger. It didn't come, just disbelief. Because even after everything, some part of me still thought he wouldn't go that far. Then I checked the site. My name was gone, not moved. Deleted. The about page now read, "Founder and CEO, him." No mention of me, no history, no credit. Years of work, wiped with a refresh. That same day, his LinkedIn profile was updated. New headline: "Solo founder, scaling a $2 million company, solo public permanent." And that's when I realized this wasn't temporary. This was the end or the beginning. I called one client, just one, someone I trusted. I asked carefully, "What have you been told?" There was a pause. Then, he said, "You stepped away due to mental health issues." Mental health again, used like a weapon. I hung up and sat in silence. Because betrayal is one thing, public humiliation, that's another. And he used my absence to Control the narrative. Here's where it flips. While he was busy erasing me publicly, he forgot something critical. He never erased the past, and the past was documented. I opened the folder, the one I'd been building for months. Inside, first domain purchase, my name, initial repo, commits my credentials, design files, my timestamps, emails where he asked me how things worked. It wasn't emotional, that was mathematical. Ownership. I didn't confront him. I called a lawyer, not a dramatic one, a calm one. I laid out the timeline, send the files. Waited, she called back and said, "You're not locked out, you're locked in," she explained. It clearly, he could control accounts, he couldn't control facts, and facts favored me, the core IP. Mine, the product foundation, mine. His mistake, thinking confidence equals control. That's when the rage came. Not explosive. Focused, because nothing sharpens you like being underestimated. I didn't warn him, I didn't post, I didn't vent. I let him keep lying, because lies collapse best when they're fully built. The next step, I took the story out of his hands. Not with drama, with paperwork. And the moment he received my first legal notice, I knew he hadn't prepared for me. Where I activate the plan, clients start asking questions, staff start hesitating, and his empire begins to crack. And trust me, the fall starts quietly. The best revenge doesn't raise its voice, it clears its throat, and lets the room go silent. That's how I did it. The letter went out on a Friday, not emotional, not dramatic, just facts, ownership assertions, IP documentation, cease and desist language, no accusations, no insults, just reality. And it landed in his inbox like a ticking clock. He called within 10 minutes. I didn't answer. Then again and again. Voicemails started stacking, first calm, then I was irritated, then angry. By the fifth one, his voice cracked, and I smiled. Because when someone used to control loses control, they reveal everything. My attorney confirmed what I already felt. The claims were strong, the evidence was clean, and here's the key part. Clients had to be notified, not emotionally, legally, because ongoing use of disputed IP creates liability. And liability makes people nervous. I emailed 3 key clients. Not all. Just the right ones. Short message. Clear tone. No drama. I'm reaching out to clarify my role in the product you're using. I am the original creator and IP holder. There is an ongoing legal dispute regarding usage rights. I wanted to ensure you're aware, as it may impact continuity. That's it. No accusations, no names, just the truth. Within hours, things shifted. Meetings postponed. Questions asked. Invoices paused. Because nothing scares business like uncertainty. Here's what he didn't expect. The staff started noticing. Projects slowed. Decisions stalled. People whispered. And when they reached out to me quietly, I didn't recruit. I just answered honestly. Then she messaged me, the one he promised equity to. She wasn't angry. She was scared. Is it true? She asked. Did he lie about ownership? I sent her one document, no commentary. She stopped replying, and I knew. Another support beam just snapped. For the first time in months. I wasn't defending myself, that reality was doing it for me. He emailed again, threatening now, accusing me of sabotage. The irony was almost funny, because truth isn't sabotage, it's exposure. My lawyer sent another notice, stronger language, clear deadlines, potential damages outlined. And this time, he didn't call the O, because bullies only roar when they think you're unarmed. That silence. It meant he was calculating. And calculation comes right before collapse. Word travels fast in small circles. Vendors hesitated, partners asked questions, and suddenly, his charm wasn't enough, because charm doesn't override contract. I felt it, that shift, when the fear left my body and entered his, and I didn't enjoy it, I respected it, but the real damage that came next, because once clients pause, they don't always come back. Where contrasts freeze, his lies collapse publicly, and he realizes, too late, you can't steal a foundation and expect the building to stand. You know what scares people like him more than confrontation? Silence. Because silence means someone's checking the facts. And once the money pauses, the truth gets loud. It started small. A single email, subject line, contract review, temporary hold temporary. That word sounds harmless. It's not. It means lawyers are involved. It means questions are being asked behind closed doors. It means someone no longer believes the story. One pause turned into 2.2 turned into we'll circle back next quarter. Then came the real punch. A client asked for a written confirmation of IP ownership. He couldn't provide it because it didn't exist. According to someone inside the company, that's when he lost it. The office door closed. Voice raised, hands shaking, because confidence only works until paperwork enters the room. Remember the woman he promised equity to? She quit. No announcement, no goodbye post. Just gone. Because nothing kills attraction faster than realizing the throne is imaginary. Employees noticed the shift, delayed payroll approvals, canceled meetings, no clear answers. And when leadership stops leading, people start planning exits quietly. Here's the part he never planned for. They didn't come to me asking for revenge. They came asking for stability. And stability was never him. One major client sent a final notice. They weren't threatening. They were leaving due to unresolved legal uncertainty. That phrase, that's corporate for, we don't trust you anymore. I felt something unexpected. Not joy, relief, because the fight was no longer personal. It was procedural. And procedures don't care about charm. He tried everything. New promises, discounts, emergency calls. Even reached out to me again. Not angry this time. Desperate. Let's talk, he said. We can fix this. Fix, like it was broken machinery, not deliberate betrayal. I didn't respond. Because I didn't need to. The system was already doing the talking. Vendors backed off. Referrals dried up, and once your reputation shifts, it doesn't whisper. It echoes. This is the part movies get wrong. Revenge isn't explosive, it's exhausting. Watching someone collapse under the weight of their own lies isn't thrilling, it's clarifying. According to his lawyer, that, when it clicked, it wasn't fighting an ex, it was fighting reality. And reality had receipts, but there was still one thing left, the final confrontation. The room where everything would be laid out, without filters, evidence, timelines, truth, where we sit across the table, and I watch him realize he never owned what he tried to steal. And that moment, that's where this story ends. The most dangerous moment isn't when someone is angry, it's when they're calm. Because calm means the decision's already been made. It wasn't dramatic, no courtroom, no raised voices, just a conference room. A long table, 2 lawyers and him, smaller than I remembered, less confident, less polished, because confidence leaks out fast when there's nowhere left to hide. His lawyer spoke first, careful words, soft framing. Let's find a mutual resolution. Mutual. As if this was a misunderstanding. I haven't spoken yet. I opened my folder and slid it across the table. I didn't dump it all at once. I pasted. Domain registrations, code commit histories, design timestamps, emails where he deferred to me, messages where he planned my removal. Each document landed quietly, and with each one, he sank lower. Then, I slid the last page, a document he hadn't seen before. His lawyer picked it up, read it twice. Then I looked at him. That document proved something devastating. That in his rush to restructure ownership, he'd accidentally acknowledged my sole authorship of the core IP in writing. Signed, dated, final. No one spoke, not even him, because that was the moment he realized this wasn't a negotiation. This was a reckoning. He tried once, just once. I did this for us, he said. You wouldn't have survived the pressure, Taswin. I spoke calm/measured. You didn't do this for me, I said. You did this to me, and the room stayed silent. There were only 2 options. Fight and lose publicly, or settle and lose quietly. He chose quietly. He signed over majority, contra, paid out a significant sum, agreed to non-disparagement, and stepped away. Not as a founder, as a footnote. I expected satisfaction. What I felt was peace. Because revenge isn't about watching someone suffer. It's about watching the lie stop. Here's the twist no one expects. I didn't go back. I didn't reclaim the company. I walked away because the moment I won, I realized I'd outgrown it. I started again. Smaller team, clear contracts, no romantic partners. And within a year, healthier revenue, better clients, zero drama, because control feels different when it's earned honestly. As for him, the industry remembered, because stories like this travel and charm doesn't work twice in the same circle. Here's what I want you to hear. If you build something, document it. If someone minimizes you, believe them. And if someone underestimates you, let them. Because the quiet ones, we keep receipts. If this story hits you anywhere close to home, if you've ever been erased, underestimated, or stolen from, do this right now. Like this video, it tells the algorithm this story matters. Subscribe, more real stories where truth wins. Comment receipts if you believe smart, legal revenge hits hardest. And share this with someone who needs to hear one thing today. You're not weak for trusting. You're powerful for protecting yourself next time.